Welcome to Gear Shift, a podcast dedicated to all aspects of vehicle ownership with your hosts, Christof and Kacper. And we are here. We're live. Well, we're live recording. We're here. Welcome to Gear Shift, everybody.
Hey, everyone. It's Kacper.
And I'm Christof, and he's Kacper.
Correct.
That's right. We're here. This is our introduction episode. This is our inaugural episode,
I believe it's pronounced inaugural, but
which is convenient because the presidential inauguration is next week.
It is.
Well, by the time this airs, it'll be this week.
Correct.
So it's almost like we're doing the same thing as the president. We're pretty much the president right now.
There is no, I see no difference.
Zero difference.
Can I just say before anything, that intro, that car, wow.
That's great intro,
it just sounds
right?
awesome.
I love the way that car, the let-off is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get back to that. We're going to come back to that later.
We are definitely going to come back to that. There's going to be some more information regarding our intros in the future. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Again, welcome to Gear Shift. This is going to be a podcast dedicated to all aspects of the automotive ownership experience. Everything from buying a car, buying parts, to maintaining it, to... everything.
Modification,
everything.
Current news, current events, anything that we may see on the internet or the world of media that looks interesting, looks like something we would want to share, get feedback on from our audience and everything. I think it'll be a really awesome time.
And I think the part that I'm most excited for and want to include is the fact that this isn't going to be a show just for car people. This is going to be a show for people who know nothing about cars too.
Absolutely.
I want to be able to talk about consumer things. So,
ways that we can reach essentially anybody that
anyone can sit down and listen to the show.
Absolutely. No matter how you look at it, whether you're actually into cars or whether you're not, cars are a part of almost everybody's life, especially out in more rural areas. You do drive on a regular basis for the most part. We do, and there's obviously a lot of people out there that may not know quite as much information and could be looking out for sources of figuring some things out for themselves.
All right. Well, before we get this dog and pony show going, this show is being brought to you by The Bearded Detailer.
Yes, it is. It is being brought to us by The Bearded Detailer, and I'm actually very glad that we had a sponsor start us off right from the beginning. So the Bearded Detailer, the Bearded Detailer is actually located in Center Valley, PA, and is your best source for automotive detailing supplies, and maintenance, replacement, and modification parts for your vehicle. If you have any questions regarding services and pricing, please visit thebeardeddetailer.com or call 570-205-0255.
And let me just say, too, if you're interested in being a sponsor of this podcast, please get a hold of us at gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. We would love to be able to put other brands out there. I will say, though, if you're a coffee company, I don't want to hear from you.
The bias has come out.
That is true. You still have some left?
I do actually have some of this wonderful Just Black.
We're both enjoying a nice cup of Black Rifle coffee from Black Rifle Coffee Company, which is located in Salt Lake City, Utah. They are not sponsoring this show. However, they are just fueling our drive to want to do this show. And I will say it every single episode until I die or until the show no longer exists.
So, one or the other.
Whichever comes first.
Yeah. We could also probably take bets on which will come first if anybody's interested.
Oh, yeah. If we want to get an over-under started on that would be fantastic.
Should be a good time.
I won't be upset about that. So our introductive episode here, it's going to be a little bit this is going to be the worst show of all of them. I'm going to tell you that now. This is going to be the worst one. Set your expectations very, very low.
Extremely low. Low. So low that you can't even see them.
Pretty much take your expectations and throw them away.
Exactly.
And then call the dumpster to come pick it up because we don't want them near you. And so it's going to be a lot of getting the kinks worked out, getting used to our layout and whatnot, what we want to do. We do have an idea. We're not just winging this. We might be winging this episode.
We took an entire 10 minutes to think about this idea, just to put it into perspective for everybody.
Yeah, that's not true.
No. There was definitely a lot of thought into this.
So here's pretty much the layout. It's going to be, each episode is going to be broken down into about 1 hour. One episode might be a little under, one might be just a hair over, but plan on about an hour episode. About halfway through, about the 30-minute mark, we're going to do any sort of local world news or current event that happens. It may be car related, it may not be. Yep. I don't know. So
I think that's where the key factor comes in, is that it's not going to be constant talk about automotives, because I think I could safely say even for car guys, it shouldn't always be about cars. We can always talk about other things, and I think that's what we're really gearing towards and trying to bring to the table here. And
I know for those of you who may be concerned about this, we're not going to really we're going to do our very best to not display a bias or to
let's
really
put it this way:
Christof
is going to work a lot harder than I am to not display
very true.
bias.
But no, like, so if you just heard what we said about news and current events, and if you think we're just going to sit here bashing one political party, that's not going to happen.
No, not at all.
We will rip everyone a new one. No, we really just want to have just a good talk about everything. And also, I want to bring this up too. If you're interested in being on any of the shows,
please contact us.
Yeah, let us know. Like I said at the top here, our email is gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Instagram or Facebook and or Twitter as well.
Yeah, I figured we could always add to that as well. Not only would we take requests for individuals that want to appear, so to speak, on our show or our podcast, we also want to take ideas for topics that are interesting to others. So
Perfect.
If there's anything that you guys want discussed or would like to contribute in that sense, please feel free.
Yep. And although the first 10 episodes, they're already planned out. So we're going to do this show in groups of 10. So the first 10 episodes are already planned out. That's going to bring us all the way to middle of March.
Approximately, right? Yeah.
Yeah. March 18th is going to air. That one's going to be our automotive mishaps show.
Yeah, that's going to be a good time.
That's going to be a
sure.
very good one. And actually, for that one, we're going to want everyone to write in.
It would be awesome. We would love to share some stories about some automotive mishaps that everybody's had.
It could be anything from breaking down to weird road trips or
to bad repairs.
Yeah, bad repairs to any sort of buying mishap as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anything that you think would deem a funny discussion.
Doesn't even have to be funny. It could just be something.
Oh, it could be horrible too.
Sharing any kind of story that you
like
would
somebody
want us there.
died.
I mean, we could.
We could put a funny twist on it, whether it's true or not.
Shooting off with the morbidity right in the first episode.
Why not?
But yeah. But even actually on the flip side, it could be something positive. If you have some kind of very unique story that you want to tell us that just worked out really well as well, please feel free to share. Any content is encouraged for us here.
Whether or not that any content makes it onto the podcast is a different story.
That's we'll see. We have to filter through everything as well.
True.
So
so this show will be we'll try to keep it as family oriented as possible. We're not going to go profane and swear like a sailor every 5 seconds. But we are going to be adults. That's what it comes down to. So we're adults. So
I figure we could kick off with actually some introductions about ourselves.
So Kacper, why don't you go first? Or unless you want me to go
absolutely.
first. Yeah.
So we were discussing this a little bit before the podcast started. We were talking about kind of maybe introducing our involvement or how we got started, I guess you could say, in the automotive community. So I actually, growing up in Queens, New York, I did not really have any interest in automotives until I was about 17, 18, which is kind of surprising because it was kind of like a flip of a switch for me. Growing up there, I public transport galore. I was 15, 16, 17 traveling to school without any, I don't have a license, I don't have a permit.
There was almost no reason for it.
There was no reason. At the time, I didn't care. I simply didn't care. My folks were living out here in PA, and there was just no reason for me to really bother looking into anything because I was here on weekends, so I didn't really need to drive because I was just hanging out at the house doing homework and other, fun stuff. And when I was in the city, there was absolutely no reason for me to drive because I couldn't afford to drive, just put it that way. So I had no interest. I could get everywhere. None of my friends really drove. And, as I started to get older, I I think I was about 17 and a half or so. My dad was basically, just, you have to get a permit. You have to get a permit because I don't feel like driving you all the time. And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, essentially that drive was just to PA and back before the weekend and after the weekend.
So was your permit for New York or Pennsylvania?
No, my permit was actually for Pennsylvania.
For Pennsylvania,
so,
okay. Probably easier to get.
I think it may have been. It may have been. So, yeah, I mean, well, to put it into perspective, I hit the curb while parking during my permit exam and still passed. So I'm assuming. Wow.
I want to go to that DMV.
He did not care. The guy did not care at all. I mean, as far as the actual road course, I didn't really make any mistakes. Not that I remember anyway. I made it as smooth as possible. I mean, I was driving a Caravan, so it's pretty smooth. But I went to Parallel Park.
What year was that Caravan?
That was a 2000. That my father, side story, got new. Put 330,000 miles on it.
Damn.
Dodge Grand Caravan, SE. 330K before, just the transmission went. Nothing else.
Motor was on par for Dodge.
Yeah. It was actually very, very well maintained. And my dad wasn't really all that big about preventative maintenance, but he also did not mess around when something was wrong. So when something did come up, he was very urgent with it. Yeah. But so got the permit, and even then I was kind of like, But I happened to meet a couple of friends in high school who were, a little bit more into the automotive world. Coincidentally, all three of them were Polish, which was, whatever.
For those of you who don't know, Kacper is Polish.
Yes, I am indeed. And so I got to hanging out with them here and there, and eventually I started to see them being a little bit more, active in the auto community, and it kind of grew the desire for not just a car, but a manual car, and almost as if like a little bit of a blessing. A couple of weeks later, my dad gets in touch with me. He goes, "Listen, I have a car for you." And I said, "Okay, that's cool. What is it?" And I'm already like, my friend has a Golf, Mark IV Golf. I'm like, I only want a Volkswagen, all this other, BS, just kind of being very stereotypical of, very easily influenced. I was sponging it all in.
Yeah.
And so my dad's like, "I have a car for you." I'm like, "Awesome." And up until this point, my father wanted nothing to do with me driving a stick car whatsoever because, no, it's too dangerous. You might stall at an intersection, this and this. But, that magical word free comes around, and
that's my favorite brand. It's free.
Indeed. So what car is it? So it was a 1991, if I remember correctly, was it a 91 Fox body Mustang. Now wait for it.
Drum roll, please.
It was a non-turbo four-cylinder Fox body Mustang. Yes. So just to put it into perspective, I didn't even know how to tell how many cylinders a car had when I popped open the hood. I had no clue whatsoever.
Looks good to me.
Exactly. It drove. It ran. It ran. And so after I got that car, it kind of, not counting the, I want to say I think it was like $1,600 or $1,700 that went into repairs because it sat for a while. I kind of got into the whole automotive community, and then it kind of just started to soar forward with a Volkswagen, and then I kind of actually started to build my confidence in terms of understanding automotives, and I started to modify, yada yada. So that was it basically for me, and then it's fast forward now about 10 years, and it's it's pretty much just as strong as it was in the beginning.
And why don't you tell everybody about your favorite brand car?
Favorite brand of car?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a... Oh, is that what you're aiming at?
Yeah, you do.
I don't have a favorite brand.
Yes,
I don't. He's trying to make me say that. He's forcing... I'll say it, fine. You want to call it a favorite? I don't have... First of all, I am not the biased one here. I am not the biased one here. I am the lesser of the biased individuals here. But put it this way. The... car that I've owned, or the brand I should say, the make we could say, that I've owned for the longest duration, we could say it that way. I don't, because favorite's a strong word. The longest duration that I've owned has been Volvo. I have had 3 Volvo 850s in my possession. Well, not all at the same time, but I had a non-turbo manual 850. I then purchased a
sedan or wagon?
Sedan.
Okay.
Then purchased a same body Volvo 850 T5R, which was a 1-year run for Volvo. They did make a very similar, almost the same car for the 2 years afterwards, 96 and 97, but 95 was their T5R year, of which I think there was only, if I'm not mistaken, there was only 1,200 that came to the States. I'm sorry, no, or I think it was I forget my numbers. I forgot if it was 2,000 worldwide or 2,000 in the States.
I'm sure you'll look it up and correct it.
I will. Regardless, it was a fairly low number for the States, and that one was also a sedan, and I actually currently still have one that is a wagon. But I don't want to say it's definitely my favorite brand. I do like them, but yeah. I have had multiple other cars.
So then when you and I met, what did you have?
When I met you, I had you had
the Volvo.
I had the Volvo.
But you had just picked up.
I just picked up a Mark V R32, Volkswagen R32. So it was a 2008 that I was looking around for a daily because I was making a massive commute to work, and I just didn't want to put too many miles on the project car, the Volvo. So I was looking around for dailies, and I was going back and forth on a lot of different cars. I test drove Mini Coopers just because I always kind of liked them. I ended up test driving a 335i, the twin turbo. And I'm looking around, and I started looking at the finances and things like that. And I wanted something that would be fun, but I also wanted something that I would not be tempted to dump too much money into because it would simply, to get power out of. So I wanted something that could be fun, but was kind of limiting it in the same sense. And I thought that the R32, and I mean that with no disrespect to the car because I love the car, but I wanted something that could be a little bit more limiting that would just sound awesome and be fun to drive on a daily basis. So I ended up picking up that R32 and then told your wife about it because we were coworkers at the time, who then introduced me to you, and that was pretty much it.
Okay, so we'll put a bookmark there because then that's where our paths cross.
Yeah, yep.
So that's where we intersect at that point. So I'll pick up from here. I'll give a little bit of my history. I don't know if mine's quite as involved. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So I grew up in a very small town, Troy, Pennsylvania, so northern PA, Bradford County. And,
we did Google it. It actually exists.
It does exist. It has a population of about 1,400 people. I'm not kidding. And I know growing up, I don't know if it's still the case there, growing up there were more cows than people.
That's awesome.
That's dead serious. Right up the road, probably about a mile and a half, there was a farm that had at least 1,000 cows in just one farm. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's really big, actually.
Big farming community. Not so much today. The natural gas fracking that's gone on up there. A lot of the farmers decided, hey, I can make money without raising cows. I can just get my own natural gas well.
Yep.
So a lot of those farms don't exist or they downsized. But so I grew up it was a big pickup truck community. Everyone owned a truck. Because it's a farming community, the winters were not necessarily greatest up there, so you owned a truck. It's what you did, and it was a domestic vehicle.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much Ford, Chevy, Dodge. That's all you saw up there for cars and trucks. Luckily, my family was originally from New York City. They weren't really truck people. Later on in life, they did have to own a truck because of towing a horse trailer. They had to have a truck, but they always had cars. My parents always flopped through cars and whatnot. I was never really into cars, like really into it. I loved trains growing up. I was a huge train guy. But I started to like cars as I got older, and I really say that it kind of makes sense now looking back. My dream car to this day is a 1969 Boss 429, which is a Mustang for those of you who don't know what that is. And it has to be the 69.
We should probably toss a picture up onto our Instagram.
Yeah,
of that car,
I definitely will. But
just to give everybody a reference.
But it's my dream car. It's a fantastic looking car. I like the 69 over the 70 because the 69 still had the side scoops. The 70, they did away with that. So that was my dream car, and it makes sense now because obviously I grew up around domestic vehicles. But my family we always had a very interesting array of cars, and they had a lot of Volkswagens for a long time. Mostly Mark II. Actually, I think they were all Mark II Jettas.
Insert bias.
Well, yeah. But for very good reason. Those were very reliable cars. My mom at the time was a traveling home health aide, so she was driving around to clients' houses, and the one car she had was a 91 Wolfsburg, red, automatic. It was the big bumpers. It was a fantastic car. She drove that car so much. She would put snow tires on it in the wintertime. It would get her to all her clients. She never got stuck. She never had a problem with it. She'd put her Enya music on, and she'd be good to go. So that was really my first, when I really started to care about cars. the first vehicle that I bought was, and again, like you said, you didn't need to get your license and permit and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Growing up in the country, you kind of had to,
needed,
because there was no public transport, so you had to. I lived 5 miles away from my school, so I used to ride my bike to school though, so I didn't need a car really. But so I bought a 94 F-150 from a guy that I was in the Army with. And no, sorry. I sold it to a guy I was in the Army with. I bought it from a little small mom and pop shop down near Wilkes-Barre. And it was an inline 6, which is a great motor that Ford made. 4-speed. I'm trying to think if it was a 4-speed or 5-speed manual. I think it was a 5-speed manual. 4-wheel drive, extended cab, 6-foot bed, dual gas tank. That was the selling part, the dual gas tank.
Sounds awesome.
I love that truck. It was a great truck. It was a great beginner vehicle to really own. Fuel mileage was but
hence the 2 gas tanks.
Yeah, and they were big tanks too. But and then so fast forward, I went to deploy. I didn't want my truck just sitting around for a year. So I sold it to a guy who wasn't deploying and never saw it again. And then when I came back from deploy, actually while I was deployed, I bought a '68 Beetle on eBay. So that's how that was my first Volkswagen that I purchased. I'm like, I really like the Beetle. It's a great car. It is a timeless car. No matter which way you want to look at it.
No disagreement there.
Yep. No matter what kind of vehicle you like, no matter what brand or affiliation or affection you have for Volkswagen, the Beetle was an amazing car for what it was, what it still is. It was a great car. The price was good. Looking back on it now, I may have paid maybe $1,000 too much. No big deal. I think I paid $4,500.
Yeah, I mean, in the grander scheme of things, what difference does it make?
Yeah, and it needed less than $1,000 to pass inspection.
Yeah.
No big deal. Not bad for a 40-year-old car.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back. I was daily driving that in the middle of wintertime.
Oh.
Yeah, no heat. And then I picked up another truck. I bought an 01 F-150 that had the 5.4 V8, so the big boy. Mm-hmm. Now, you want to talk about fuel mileage. The best I ever got was 16 miles per gallon.
Oh,
That's horrible, man.
Wow.
Automatic. But, I mean, that was, I think 305 horse at the time.
I'm sure it was pretty...
It was nice.
Peppy, to say the least.
Yep. And then my wife got pregnant. So it was time yeah. We love it now, but so it was time to get away from the truck. Yeah, it was an extended cab, but I wanted something a little bit easier with more room, better fuel economy. And I already had the Beetle, so I was already in the Volkswagen community. So I'm like, all right, time to move on. A friend of mine had a Mark IV GLI, so I'm like, all right, I wanted a GLI. I found a Mark V for a really good price. It was certified pre-owned. It was very low mileage. I think 3,000 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
And I drove it I drove it for 4.5 years until I totaled it on snow and ice, which, as I say this, I'm looking outside and we're getting
a little bit of snow. Looks like that 30% precipitation that they predicted yesterday is fairly accurate.
Oh, we're supposed to get an inch.
Right now. Are we?
Yeah, we're supposed to get an inch. So that'll be nice. I'm happy for that.
I don't mind.
And so the GLI, my wife was driving. I had a motorcycle at the time. I had an 03 Harley.
Speaking of which, we will be getting into motorcycles later on during this
motorcycle
podcast.
episode, which will be nice. But I loved it. That I bought from a guy that I was deployed with as well. And then my wife had an old Honda Accord, a 2-door, which I love. And here's the funny part is you always hear people go, well, Volkswagen, Honda, those are the two big rivals. They hate each other, blah,
I feel like that hatred is more perpetuated by the automotive scene than anything else. It's not really.
I mean, it is real.
No, I know. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but I feel like it's fueled more so. It is. It's fueled very heavily by the. Now, don't get us wrong. We bash on Hondas and actually Volkswagens all the time. Yeah. More so the people that are sometimes associated with them.
More
are
the
pretty
owners.
Funny. The communities are kind of funny.
But she had this car. It was a 2-door Accord, so I like the coupes. I'm a huge coupe fan of any make and model.
It's actually coupe.
It was the 4-cylinder, so it wasn't the coveted V6, but it was an automatic too. But for what it was, I mean, it was as high as a trim level you could go with the 4-cylinder, and it was a great car.
I'm sure.
Got great mileage, low maintenance. Yeah, That's Honda and Toyota's selling point right there. You know?
Absolutely.
Change the tires and check the oil. That's
Plus,
all you gotta do.
they're very reliable cars.
Yep.
I mean, they can't
so
take that away.
then I eventually got her to get out of that when Chloe was born. My oldest daughter was born because it was a 2-door, and obviously we didn't want to get a kid in and out of the backseat with a 2-door.
Yeah.
We replaced it with an 08 GTI. It was a 4-door. I was working at a dealership at the time, so I've worked at 2 dealerships. I worked in service for a year. Then I worked in sales for a year and a half at a different dealership. And I also worked at a small mom and pop shop for 6 months, which was a VW, Audi, and Porsche shop. So I do have my time in the automotive industry as well, too. So then the GTI she was driving at, she liked it. And then in came the R32. It came in from auction, and I saw it. It was white. It's the same color as the GTI we already had. And I'm like, I want that car, period. I want it. For her.
Yeah,
but
for her.
But for her.
But for her, but for me.
So traded in the GTI, got that. It's actually going to be paid off this month. I'm so happy about that.
It's awesome.
So I got her out of a 2-door into a 4-door, back into a 2-door. But the all-wheel drive was the big pitch. I knew what the car was. She didn't. That was more of the pitch of it's all-wheel drive. It's good for the wintertime.
We need it.
We need all-wheel drive. That's right. I'm driving 2-wheel drive, but you need 4-wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. It worked out nicely.
But like I said, I totaled my GLI. I ended up getting a VR6 Passat 2012 when I was working in sales. It was a great car. Lots of room. Ended up trading that in. Got an Audi A4, which is what I have now. And meanwhile, Crystal still has the R32. But that's back to where we intersected. So Crystal and Kacper both are ultrasound. They're sonographers.
Yeah, we worked in the same workplace for a little while. And
different campuses, but
same organization. And so that's.
So I get a text one day saying, "Hey, what does my car have done to it?" Now, mind you, my wife is a saint. I want to put that out there right now.
But
her and Mother Teresa arm wrestled once, and Mother Teresa lost. So they're
it's documented.
Crystal is documented. It's historical. Crystal is a saint mostly for having to put up with me, but she's not a car person. She loves her car. Mm-hmm. She absolutely loves what's done to it.
I feel like Crystal can appreciate certain cars, though. That's for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But as far as knowing what is done to something, she'll know that something is done, but she won't know the details. Obviously, she's not the one doing the homework. She's not the one installing it. So that's where I come in. So she texts me. She's like, "What's done to my car?" I'm like, "Well, be more specific." Well, there's a guy here who has an R32. He works over at the other campus, and he has an R32. He wants to know. So I'm like, all right. I sent her the link to her build thread.
Yeah,
I say that very loosely. And that was history. That's how we met.
Yep.
I eventually just said, you know what, just give him my number.
Made things a lot simpler at that point.
Cut the middleman out.
We were going back and forth, and then I think we actually just texted a couple times, and then actually met at her campus the one time.
Yeah, I came in one time. For something. Yeah.
And we were kind of casual at first, and then I actually went and picked up my first set of wheels for any car that Eddie got, aftermarket wheels, when I went to go pick up the BBSs. No, you weren't with me for the R32, but you met up with me that same day to take photos. Is what it was.
That's right. That's right.
And
for those of you who don't know, I'm also a photographer. Yeah. So I own the Bearded Detailer and the Bearded Camera. So that's, when you mention photography, that's
Bearded Enterprises.
Bearded Enterprises LLC. Shameless plug.
So, but so I mean, that's how we met, and then we met up. He hit me up to do a quick photo shoot. I felt honored to have my...
Those pictures were horrible, by the way. Looking back on it now,
I still printed a canvas. It's okay.
Yeah.
I still have it at the house. I no longer have the car, but I still have the photo. I'm definitely not getting rid of that. Sad face. Actually, I have been feeling a little bit sentimental about it recently. But so I realized that Christof is a complete moron, and I want to hang out with him a little bit more. So that's basically
and that's how the inception or the conception
we created. This is how this show was conceived. 2 years later.
I listened to a couple podcasts that actually I usually listen to them while I'm detailing, because sometimes music, you listen to the same thing over and over again. I like hearing different content. So, and one day I was just like, you know what, I just really want to do a podcast.
Yeah.
So I hit Kacper up, and here we are.
Here we are.
So
lengthy introduction, but that gives you guys
but now you
idea.
have a little bit about our background.
Yep.
We don't claim to be experts in any one field, but
I claim to be an expert in no fields, but that's
do I want to say that for myself?
I don't know if
I'll say it.
I feel like being humble is a little bit better than trying to boast here.
But we're both very well versed in all aspects of a lot of things, actually, which is why we wanted to do this. It's also why we're going to have guests on our show.
Absolutely,
because there are people who are more of an expert in their fields that we're going to talk about, and I don't want to wing it. I'm big with if I don't know something, I want to find out. So that's why we're going to have people on the show. With that being said, let me actually pull up our episode list. I will let you know the actual topics we're going to be talking about.
Now, the list that you're going to go over, is that the exact specific order that we are going to be?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have dates and to get our guests on.
I figured I'd just ask just because there may be some fluctuation here or there, but I feel like, we're probably going to stay pretty consistent with the exact list that you have.
For this one, I think, yeah.
Yeah, we might as well.
Okay, so our next episode is going to be about modifications. So the do's and don'ts, what to do, what you shouldn't do, what parts you should look for.
And what things you probably just should avoid completely.
Yeah,
so
that'll
be fun.
And that's going to be I'm going to give you the air dates too. So that's going to air on January 21st. January 28th, we're going to do a consumer episode. So how to be a consumer.
Yep.
The do's and don'ts of what to do when buying something. Should I go in and lie to the salesperson, whether it is a car, whether it's parts, anything. We'll go over all of that. How to do your homework. We are going to have a guest on that one. That's going to be Alex Belinsky. He is the parts manager at Sealka Volkswagen in Allentown. I used to work with Alex, good friend with Alex. We might also have another guest for that. That's not confirmed yet. So
awesome.
The episode after that, February 4th, is going to be on transmissions. We're going to discuss manuals, automatics,
automated manuals,
aka dual clutch direct shift kick.
Well, actually, we're going to do a little bit of a discussion about SMGs as well. SMGs that came in BMWs
and CVT. Pretty much all transmissions, the benefits and cons to each of them.
Comparisons, all the good stuff.
And we're going to have good friend Kevin Weslowski. He's going to be on it. Kevin is a mechanic. I've worked with him at 2 places now. Very, very smart guy. Very, very funny. That's probably being way too humble. He needs no other
introduction. Well,
that's all you need.
We'll let him take over with his words when he gets here.
So then the February 11th episode is going to be about insurance. We're going to talk, and this is going to be for cars, trucks, motorcycles, types of insurance, what kind of policies you should or shouldn't have, and anything along that line too. I would love to get an agent from.
That would be cool. Yeah.
I don't really care what brand you're with. So if you're an insurance agent or work for an insurance agency, contact us. I'd love to have you on the show.
Yeah, hopefully we can kind of debunk some of the myths that go around about insurance and maybe help. I feel like I know, speaking from personal experience, actually a very recent experience where I've been completely shocked by my quote and ended up not purchasing a vehicle because of it. So I'll save that for when we actually do the insurance episode. So if you're free around the February, that's going to be 9th for recording, let us know. GearShiftPodcast@gmail.com or Facebook or Instagram. Am I saying these dates wrong? Oh, I am. He is providing
these are not air dates.
They're not
these
air
are
dates.
record dates. My bad. So that would be the February 11th. So that's going to be a February 13th release. So then the show that's going to be recorded on my birthday.
Super excited.
It's going to be episode 6 will be recorded on my birthday, and that's going to be about the car scene.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be wonderful. So that
was not planned.
Yeah, no. The premise, bullshit. The premise behind that episode is to discuss the car scene in general, and when we say the car scene, we mean kind of the enthusiasts. Car shows, meets,
don't say
get-togethers. I don't want to say enthusiasts.
Yeah,
we'll get into that later too. So just the car universe, if you want to call it that, whether it's shows, meets, events, etc.
Forums,
everything. We're going to kind of discuss that. kind of
how it's gotten to where it is,
how it was, and how it's gotten to where it is, and how things are now.
Which is weird because this topic has been discussed so many times by so many different people on, off air. Yeah,
whatever. Absolutely. So we're going to try to kind of compile and interwove or weave together the different perspectives when it comes to the car scene today.
And we don't have a guest for that one either.
We don't have a guest for that one. So that's if you feel like you want to get on the car scene episode again. Feel free to contact us.
Well, the next one after that is going to be motorsport. So that's everything from drag racing, rally, drift, any sort of automotive racing.
Absolutely.
Car, truck, motorcycle. And we're going to have 2 guests on there. We're going to have Danny Archibald.
Yep.
And Dominic Pelk. Those 2 are going to be on there. Both are versed in their own fields.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be a good aspect that I don't really have.
Both have a pretty good following. Dominic's father actually did rally or was a rally driver back in the day.
Well, maybe we should just have him on.
We could just have him on. We could totally kick Dom off of the podcast just because we know what it'll do to.
Hey, Dom, just drive your dad here, and then you can wait out in your car.
You can wait outside of the car. Go get us pizza. But yeah, so Danny, I actually met through Dom, who is he does drift events.
Yes.
He's very good, and I'm not trying to sell Danny here, but he is very good. He's I've been to a couple of his events since I want to say 2013 till now, and he did things correctly. He went, he mastered his car first as much as he could before he ended up, going up in power level. And
this is where this show is going to be important because I have no desire to go to a drift event or any knowledge of drift event. So I'm not going to talk
Danny,
about.
It's on you to convince Christof to go to a drift event.
I could be persuaded.
He could be persuaded,
but I have no education about it, so I'm not going to sit here and talk about it. I want to interview and ask somebody else about it and learn.
Absolutely.
So that's where it comes in handy. The next episode after that is going to be all about motorcycles.
Yep.
And we're going to have a guest, Mike.
The Savage.
No, say his last name because
his last name is. No, go ahead. Let's give this a shot here.
Pogozelski.
That's good enough. That's not bad at all. Actually.
Mike the Savage. That's what
Mike
we
the
know
Savage is what we call him. So Mike is very big into motorcycles.
And we might have. Did we talk about maybe Dan on that one too?
Dan might actually be on that one as well.
We'll see his schedule wise.
Yeah, we'll see how that fits together. At least one guest though.
Yes. And then on the ninth episode, we're going to talk about weather. So driving during certain weather, what you shouldn't do.
It's not going to be just us talking about weather. It's actually going to be driving related. So
yes,
we're not giving you a weather broadcast.
Well, outside we got some snow falling from the sky, and tomorrow partly cloudy with a chance of sun.
Yeah,
wintry mix.
Wintry mix. It's wintry mixing right now. And then the 10th episode is going to be an automotive mishap show. We talked to you about that earlier.
Yeah, so we decided to kind of strategically place that one towards the end so that we can hopefully build up some feedback from our audience and kind of compile it together into
class
that episode.
participation.
Class participation. It is key. You are graded on this. I hope you all know that. So definitely look into submitting some information for us if you can.
Yes.
I think that'll make it a lot more of a hoot, if you will.
Yes. Well, yeah, because I know you and I could definitely talk about...
I have some stories. I've got some stories. Absolutely.
But nobody just wants to hear about us.
No,
so,
not at all.
If you guys have anything, please write in. So gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com, Gearshift Podcast on Instagram, Gearshift on Facebook, and Gearshift PC on Twitter as well too. So any way you want to message us or get a hold of us for a story, any sort of automotive mishap or interesting or intriguing story, let us know there. So we may have a bonus 11th episode. I don't know yet. We'll
see how things go.
Yeah, but as of right now, it's the first 10.
Cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, so that's it for. I can close that Word document. We're not scripted, but we do have a pretty. We have a good outline here.
We do have an outline.
Yeah, we have an outline for.
We have a rough draft.
And
the final draft is now.
Yes.
Just
actually,
so
technically not.
Technically not.
When it airs on Monday.
Yes, when it airs on Wednesday, it'll be the final draft. But yeah,
Professor Kacper. Okay. All right. So
never call me that.
So we're at the halfway mark.
We are.
We've already burned through almost 40 minutes, man.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that went fast.
Right?
Awesome. I hope you guys are awake. So as far as current events, we are actually going to discuss the Detroit Auto Show.
Yes. So the Detroit Auto Show, also known as the North American International Auto Show.
He says Detroit.
It takes
I say
place.
Detroit.
Detroit.
Okay.
It's all about the emphasis on the correct syllable.
Yes.
So, that was this week. I think it ends on the 22nd, if I remember correctly. I think it's a 2-week show.
Yeah, I believe
8th to the 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
So a quick history about it. It started in 1907. It was originally the Detroit Area Dealer Association managed car show. So yeah, this looks like it's been going on for 110 years. That's insane.
Quite a while. Quite a while.
It wasn't until 1989 that they actually turned it into.
I wonder how many followers they had on the gram back in the day. You know,
their posts got all the likes.
They got all the likes. Every single thumb was raised in the air when they unveiled.
No, I wouldn't say every. You know, there was one guy.
There was one guy.
One guy's like, I have two. I'm only going to give one.
I'm only giving one. Absolutely.
I'm going to get on Yelp. Oh, Yelp doesn't exist? I'm going to create Yelp.
Absolutely. So, in other news, Yelp was created in 1907, apparently.
No, that's not true. You can fact check, so don't tweet us that.
Don't tweet us that.
I don't care about that. So, yeah, 1989, it became the North American International Auto Show. I think the name was created then, and the following year was the first show that actually was that name.
Yep.
So, it's always been the pinnacle of what's going on in the automotive industry. So,
Indeed.
Any sort of trends or not like that. So,
tons of vehicles displayed.
Tons. They always have new cars, whether they're a concept that may or may not happen, whether or not it is a new model, a new brand, model year change. They might do like a facelift at that time.
And what's nice is that it's not; these cars aren't always high end vehicles. These are vehicles for the common person. I guess. I mean, we could call it that. I mean, not to sound rude or anything.
The commoners.
It's for the common.
Are you a lord or lady? Then you go to the left. If you're a peasant, you go to the right.
Indeed. So I mean, there's
so we're going to talk about some of the vehicles that were displayed. Some of them are concepts. Actually, probably the bigger part that we're going to talk about is the concept stuff, because there's some
Honda
pretty
Odyssey
cool stuff.
though, huh?
Yeah, so let's start with some of the models that are already out there. They already exist, or they're going to exist. They're not concepts. So yeah, the Honda Odyssey. Now, I just blew so many people's brains right there because I thought this was going to be an enthusiast car show. They're talking about a minivan. But I've never been a minivan guy. My family never had one. You had the Caravan.
I did. I had the Caravan. It's what I learned to drive on.
Yeah.
Do I see myself owning a minivan? No.
Hell no.
Hell no. Get that shit away from me. Now, no disrespect to anybody that has a minivan.
No. If you have a minivan, honestly, there is a reason for a minivan. I will never own one. There's no need for me to have one. If for some reason I had 2 extra kids and I needed one, then yeah, that makes sense. But I don't need one. But this Honda Odyssey, it kind of got a facelift for 2018, and it actually looks pretty good.
Yeah,
I think.
Agreed.
They still have a V6. It's going to be a 280 horsepower.
That's plenty of output, man. 280 horse. That's honestly,
it's just enough. Because
it is.
You think about it,
yeah.
It's a bigger vehicle. When it's fully loaded with 7 people, 8 people, and cargo, 280 is just enough. It's going to need
the pickup, absolutely. 10-speed automatic transmission.
Well, there's a reason for that. But essentially, with the way the EPA is cracking down with the fuel economy, instead of changing the motor to something that's more fuel efficient and having to redesign a bunch of stuff, they just put a transmission that can just shift gear, lower the rev point, and then all of a sudden now it's more fuel economic. So 10-speed is ridiculous. I would have never thought within the last 5 years we'd see a 10-speed in a passenger car.
Yeah.
But here we are. Here's the cool thing, though. They're actually putting a communication system that allows the driver, I would imagine the front passenger as well,
absolutely,
to see the and speak with the rear passenger.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, anyone who's a parent has ever had to talk to their kids in the back, like that's awesome. I'm
Prevents
a parent,
you from turning around and yelling.
Yeah. I don't even turn around anymore. I just have to yell louder. But yeah, so that Honda Odyssey is pretty cool, I think, for what it is. It looks
absolutely.
good, too.
It does.
Next up is the Toyota Camry. If you are a Camry owner, I really recommend you look up this Camry. It got a facelift. It's a pretty
significant facelift.
It's aggressive. It's very aggressive, and I hope it's not too aggressive for the Toyota community, to be honest with you.
Yeah, some people might be turned off by it.
Yep. Yeah, so the Toyota Camry has been the best-selling car in the U.S. for 15 years.
It's insane.
That's huge. So this new look is super aggressive, and I hope it's not too aggressive for Camry, the typical Camry owner. I remember back when the Ford Taurus, they went from that square look to the bubble. Mm-hmm. Their sales dropped.
Yeah.
So actually, it dropped to the point where they had to get rid of the Taurus. and then they brought the Ford 500 for a very short amount of time. Then they re-debuted the Taurus again. So I hope, Toyota's got a good following. I'm sure it won't ruin anything. So they're going to have 2 engines, well, technically 3, but the 2 petrol engines, they're going to have a 4-cylinder and a V6. They won't kill the V6. And they are boasting better fuel economy for both of those engines. And there's going to be a hybrid option as well. They're going to have possible battery options similar to the Prius. So next up is back to Volkswagen world, something that we're a little bit more familiar with.
The Tiguan.
There's so many ways to say it. No, it's the Tiguan. They are releasing kind of a facelift. It's a new platform. The Tiguan's needed a refresh for a while. This is called the LWB, or the long wheelbase. It's going to have a 3rd row, which for Volkswagen is huge because huge. It's huge because they don't have a 3rd row option.
No.
For a while, they had the Rutan, which was a Chrysler and Volkswagen cooperation. It was garbage. So they haven't had that option. I remember when I was in sales, so many people came in and they're like, hey, we want a 3rd row. I'm sorry, Volkswagen's not for you if you absolutely need it. Sometimes we'd realize that people didn't actually need it. So, but if they did, I'd walk them over to Mazda and like, hey, the CX-9's got a 3rd row. Let's look into this one. So the fact that they're going to bring that into the Tiguan is huge, and it's going to be on their MQB platform. That's the platform that the current Golf R, GTI, Sport Wagon, that's that platform. Also, the S3 is on that platform for Audi, and MQB translated is modular transverse matrix. So think of it like building blocks. They can just tack on what they need and make it adjustable to really anything they want. They're also saying 57% more cargo space than the current Tiguan. That's
a big difference. That's a huge difference.
That's a huge difference. Because face it, the current Tiguan's just a slightly bigger GTI.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate, actually.
Yeah, you can fit almost the same amount of stuff in a GTI that you can in a Tiguan.
Except it's higher. I mean...
Yeah, but the height difference isn't that much.
No, I know. I mean, that's literally...
Yeah, it's actually, it's crazy. So for them to increase that space is big.
And
no
expecting competitive pricing.
Yes, the Tiguan's always been more expensive than anything else in this class. So they're going to be competitive with everything else in that class. Here's the weird part. They lowered the horsepower. So instead of 200, it's 184. But they raised the torque to 221. So that's interesting.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see how it feels. It's going to have an 8-speed auto. Again, now you're seeing these makers put more gears in their cars.
Economy is key.
Now we'll go over to concepts. My order here is a little different. We're actually going to the Atlas first, while we're on the topic of Volkswagen and SUVs. So the Atlas has been a long time in the making, and I'm actually not sure if this is replacing the Touareg, but it's in that category-ish. It's going to be a full 3rd row, and it's an SUV. It's all brand new design from the ground up. I believe that is the Chattanooga, Tennessee produced model as well. And that has 2 engines. It's going to have a 2-liter turbo gas and a 3.6 gas. Now, I don't know if that 3.6 is still the VR6. I think it is, because the horsepower they're saying is 276.
Yeah, which
is right
like,
on. That's like 280 usually. So it's pretty close. And the 2-liter is going to have 235 horsepower, which is
it needs an exhaust already. I'm just
if it's a VR, the 3.6 sounds really good. The 2-liter turbo is going to be a front-wheel drive only.
That's still a good option, I'm sure. I mean, there's definitely
brings the price point down.
Yeah, exactly.
So it says 4Motion is available in the 3.6, so I don't know if that also means the front-wheel drive is going to be an option, or if it's just the 3.6 will be
just 4Motion only. Yeah.
So we'll see, but that looks great. And I'm going to skip these other two here, and we're going to go to the Kia.
Yeah.
So, did you look this up?
I did. I looked up a couple of pictures.
Dude.
Yeah.
So this
Hello,
is
Kia.
This is a very niche car. Very niche. So Kia Stinger is what it's called. It's going to be a rear-wheel drive. What was that?
That was my Stinger. Just continue.
That's not even a Stinger makes that.
Whatever. Shut up.
So the Kia Stinger. It is rear-wheel drive. 4-door sedan. Mm-hmm. That's such a weird combination. And the rear kind of looks like an A7. The front kind of looks like a BMW, I think. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, yeah.
Okay. They're going to have 2 engine options. There's a 2-liter turbo with 255 horse, which is adequate. And there's going to be a 365 horsepower V6 twin turbo.
Now that is
from a rear-wheel drive car.
That is tits. I mean,
that's awesome. For those of you manual buffs, it's only going to be an 8-speed automatic. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
But it's almost as if does this vehicle, like you mentioned, belong in the Kia lineup? It's like, holy crap, where did this come from? But I'm super excited for that, actually. I think it could be great. It's going to be huge.
Huge. I don't know. They don't have a price available yet. Being that it's Kia, they're usually very affordable.
And competitive.
Yeah. I'm guessing maybe 35,000.
Yeah.
For the 2-liter.
I mean, that would be
maybe 40 for the V6 version, whatever. Vision. So that's interesting. If you guys haven't seen the Kia Stinger, look that up.
Well, we can upload a photo.
Yeah, we'll put some pictures up.
So we're gonna toss a few photos up to go with our podcast.
Yes.
We'll see if we want to upload them before or after it actually releases, but that's something we'll discuss shortly. And
yep. So we went a little long-winded today, but again, today was less organized.
But before you cut him off, I do have one other vehicle I'd like to speak about. So this is also going to be. So this is just the one that I'm going to bring to the table. Again, I know I'm coming off as the more biased individual here, but I promise I'm not being biased. It just I happened to see some photos on one of the Volvo forums of this vehicle, kind of caught my eye, so I figured I'd share. So Volvo is introducing a V90. So
do they not have a current V90 or
not currently?
Okay,
and so it's going to come in two separate platforms, much like the Kia. It's going to come in a 250 horse front wheel drive and in a 316 horse all wheel drive model. Wow. So the kicker is it's only going to be available on special order, which is pretty interesting. So they're not going to stock the wagon. They are going to be ordering the cars straight from the factory, specific to each customer, which is pretty awesome, I think. It'll bring the hype up a little bit. They could pick up their cars from the U.S. or actually from the factory in Sweden. If anybody remembers, Volvo was doing that one thing where you can purchase a car, fly out to Sweden, drive it in Sweden, and have it shipped back to you.
Well, it wasn't just them. BMW offered that.
Yeah, several companies. I think
Volkswagen offered it for a short time, too.
Yeah. So it's going to be, fairly roomy, a durable wagon and everything. And so we're gonna toss like a photo of the one that was at this show. Really awesome.
Color.
The color is awesome. It's
brown.
Which one
are you?
I'm saying it's brown, but it's.
Oh no, the one I saw was blue.
Oh, the blue one.
Oh my goodness.
The blue one, no, yeah.
But the brown is.
The brown
sharp.
is. So maybe we'll put up both. We'll see. We'll probably put up both if anything.
You decide.
I'm flooding the Instagram with Volvo, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to write that one down, but yeah.
No, it's okay.
Well, the reason was I couldn't find any information on it.
Yeah, I kind of researched a little bit more. So, yeah, I went into it, like I said, mainly because I was on one of the forum pages and I happened to see somebody upload photos of it, and I was like, wow, this looks awesome. So
yeah, it is sharp. I'm a wagon guy, so if there's a wagon out there, I'm all for it. I want to see it in white, though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up here. We're reaching that 1 hour mark. We're at 56 minutes. That's not bad at all.
Not too bad. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, like we said, it's going to be a little rough in the beginning. I'm sure this episode seems a little bit like it needs some kinks worked out, which we were expecting. Yeah. And I mean, we're going to compile everything together. And the one thing I did want to mention, so the next upcoming episode is modifications, correct? I figured as we're going up to that episode, we should toss out one question. We're going to post up an Instagram post, or just kind of on our media sites as well. I kind of want to know what the audience thinks, or what the audience does. What is your go-to first modification for your vehicle when you buy it?
Yeah.
First mod that you do, irrelevant of the car. I mean,
and it
I'm
doesn't
sure
have to be a brand either.
It doesn't have to be a brand, doesn't matter. What do you do first? And when I say mod, I don't mean preventative maintenance. I don't mean like a stage 0.
I got stickers.
So yeah, first mod that you buy, install, whatever, for whatever car you have. I mean, I know it differs depending on what vehicle you get, especially if you buy something that's already worked. But, let's say, for the sake of argument, you buy a stock car, what do you do first?
Yes, it doesn't have to be a new car, or any car. If it's stock, what's the first thing you buy?
Yep.
I know what it is for me.
It's a gap insurance.
That's actually pretty important. And we'll talk about that and how to be a consumer.
Don't give away ours. I'm going to keep mine until the next episode. I'm not saying it.
Oh yeah. I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you anything.
I'm telling you, fine. I don't want to hear anything.
You don't know me.
Huge.
But
Yeah,
that's it. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe. Make sure you share the word, get the word out there, have other people subscribe. We're only going to keep doing this if there's people who want to hear it. And people are only going to know about it if you don't tell them. So be sure to share the information. If you're interested in being a guest or have any questions, please email us at gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com. And
thank you for your time.
I think that's it. I'm Christof.
I'm Kacper.
And this is Gear Shift. Gear Shift Podcast is a production of Gear Shift. If you have any questions, please email us at gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com or visit us on Facebook.